welcome to another episode, another Saturday here. Let me fix all the cameras. Hi, it's Anna here, the author of Eat to Focus, and also over here, Instagram. So I'm on both Facebook. I'm still trying to figure out how to do this because I think I'm on the Facebook page. I might be not, I'm not 100% sure, but we'll figure that out. And I'm also on Instagram. So for those of you new here, I just started doing this, doing a live on every Saturday morning, 10 o'clock Hawaii time and 12 o'clock Pacific time. So it'll be every Saturday from now on, and I'm planning on having guests on this. Okay. So since I just started doing this, so I'm just kind of like randomly picking out topics to talk about. But so my book, let me just talk about where I come from, so then you kind of figure out why I talk about those things. So my book, actually, let me talk about myself. So I'm a registered dietitian. So my book is focus. So basically, it's kind of more focus on the eating part of ADHD, like what kind of food to eat, what kind of food to avoid, and um, and supplements to take. Because a lot of it that I focus on the nutritional deficiency and the development and stuff like that. But I also talk about alternative ADHD treatment options because that's I think most of my population here is that they want to learn other options that can help with the ADHD without any medication. So, so today I do have two topics, but let's see how far I can get to. But one of the topic that I actually want to talk about is because I'm scrolling through my Instagram last night, and I kind of see a lot of questions about one thing called rejection dysphoria syndrome. Yeah. So I want to talk about that a little bit because I recently started studying to become a hypnotherapist. So while studying that, I learned a lot about psychology, how we make decision as human being. And we often think that, oh yeah, we always make the best decision, making a logical decision. But it's not. Most of our decision we make is based on emotion. So I learned a lot about that. And so I kind of wrote a post about what rejection dysphoria syndrome recently. So, and I got a lot of questions on that, people asking about like wanting to know more about it. So, what I've been reading so far on social media is that this RSD, the rejection dysphoria, is is this super intense feeling or emotions that you have when uh, when someone feel rejected. So from basic human emotional needs is that we as human have a few needs. One is that we need to feel connected. So that's why like when we're growing up, we're always around people. Like even if you look at like hundreds and maybe even thousands years ago, we all human. We all think that we're independent individual. We can live on our own. We don't need anyone. But human being as a species, we're supposed to live together in groups, in communities. And like hundreds and thousands of years ago, humans always have been living together in tribes or in like, is it Renaissance or medieval um, eras? People live in like walled city. So one of the things that how they punish people, even nowadays, is they punish people by taking them away, putting them away or banishing them away from the tribe. So that's the type of like punishment because that's like an extreme form of rejection, right? Like you did something so bad, I'm just gonna put you away, send you away, so you're not in our group anymore. So humans fundamentally have this fear of rejection because like when you're back in those days, back in the days where you live in a group, hunt together, search for food together, and then suddenly you lost your group, you lost your identity, and you're on your own. Basically, when you're on your own in those days, you just can't survive on your own. So fundamentally, we have this hardwired fear of rejection. But I think all this recent awareness of this rejection in people with ADHD is even more so because if you're someone who just kind of normal doing normal thing like the 90% of the population, you don't get that kind of same reaction treatment like someone with ADHD or someone with developmental problems, right? Like in the post that I mentioned, is that people with ADHD tends to have more negative comments or things spoken to them more often and around them, and it's because people with ADHD just doesn't fit into the norm. People with ADHD think differently, they act differently, so when they don't fit into the norm, they're almost kind of like a sore thumb, right? Like it just they just sticks out, and then they get more attention. And it's not positive attention that they always get. It's more like negative attention. You need to sit down. Oh, you can't say that. You need to wait for your turn. So you're always constantly being told that you're doing something wrong. And just imagine if every day, every minute constantly someone telling you that hey you can't do this, can't do that, you're not doing that, you feel different, right? Like why am I the only one that you're blaming me on? Like I feel like you're just blaming me for everything. How about the other kids? How about the other workers? Are they getting the same treatment? So overall, over time since you're growing up, you always get extra negative attention, and it hurts your self-esteem and your confidence, even though you could be super smart. Like we know a lot of people with ADHD are super smart and intelligent, but the problem is being smart doesn't determine so much of your success more than your emotions, because your emotions is actually what creates the action, because you have to feel confident, have good self-esteem about yourself before you can say, oh yeah, I feel so good, I'm so confident that I can do it. But if you're growing up with ADHD, constantly being told that, hey, you can't do that, stop doing that, don't do this, stop do that. So every time you want to do something, you're told no. So as you grow up and become an adult or even teenagers, you just become so sad because you're like, oh my God, I have all these things that I want to do, but why bother? Every time I do something, I'm being told no. So we noticed and I think part of that could be also contributing factors to like people with ADHD also have a lot of psychological or mental illnesses like anxiety and depression. Because like I started doing this blog, like the Natural Alternative ADHD Treatment blog.com, all of those stuff. So I started doing this over 10 years ago. And when I first started doing this, like the diagnosis of ADHD is just so simple. It's like you you have inattentiveness, you can't focus and have like hyperactivity, like you can't sit down and stuff. That's basically the main diagnosis and the frigidity. And the and along with those diagnoses is that these symptoms actually have to affect your social life, your school life, and your health, or some part of your areas in your life for 6 months. But then now it looks like there are more and more things showing up with the ADHD. Like it's not like people with ADHD is not just a lack of focus or not able to sit still, racing thoughts, but it's like all these other psychological disorder, like I mentioned, depression, anxiety, um, borderline personality, bipolar, and um, and then this new thing, the rejection, what the rejection dysphoria, and all of this thing, and then like I said, when I start studying to become a hypnotherapist, this is when I realized that a lot of the mental illness that we actually put a diagnosis in ourselves or other people is a learned behavior. So if you learn growing up around people who constantly telling you no, you just feel bad, right? Like, and when you're growing up, little kid, you just don't understand. Like, hey, I really want to pet that dog, but why can't I do that? I'm confused. Like, why you get so upset that I play with the dog? Or I really want to go over there to play. Why you get so upset? Like, those are the type of things that I get when I'm doing hypnotherapy with some of my clients. Is we go back to their childhood and look at some of the scenes or some of the experience that created their psychological or mental or whatever life challenges they have now. Is a lot of times we go back to childhood memories where they're told that they're not good enough, or at least that's what they think, or someone says something to them to make them feel like I just feel so bad, like, or I feel so angry, why can't I do this? So a lot of times it's learning as a child that the things you want is not available. Then you grow up to become an adult who feels that the rejection feels so strongly, and then the lack of motivation and the procrastination that we also see in people with ADHD is the same thing. Like, I have this client, she have problem with lack of motivation, so we went back to some scenes. All the scenes went to the same thing. She wanted to join this club, join that club, and do this activity with her friends. All of it show is the repeating symptoms. Like, she want to join this club, but the mom keeps saying, telling her no, nope, nope, you can't do that, nope. And then when we deep further into the situation, came to find out is that it's just bad parenting. The mom just didn't care, didn't think that she needs it. It's a waste of time. Didn't want to spend the time on Saturday morning and take her to these activities. Didn't want to spend the money on her and all those things. So it all goes back to what we learned as a child, like our experience. So if the when we're growing up, we're always being told no. So we grow up and like, you know what? Why bothers? It's not gonna work. It's gonna be bad. Someone's gonna tell me no anyway. So yeah, so that's kind of like how I interpret the what you call it, the rejection dysphoria syndrome. Yeah. So, but yeah. So that's that. That's one of the questions that I saw, and oh, and then I think someone asked about supplements, so I'll talk about that too. I thought I'll spend most of my time talking about the other one, but it's okay. So, supplements for ADHD. This is like a really, really common question that people ask all the time about ADHD because that's like the first thing that they think of. Like, oh, I don't want to take a medication for the ADHD because of all the side effects and like I hear all this bad thing about it, which is fine. Like, treatment is basically another pill, a pill that is more natural. And the misconception that most people have is that natural is always better, but it is not true. Natural can be as dangerous as the drugs that is manufactured by a pharmaceutical company. I have a few years ago, I have an intern who's with me. She's actually a pharmacist, and she's just so funny because we have this patient that the child is super sick, have a very severe medical condition where she needs to be on a lot of the medication, but the mom was just so adamant about medication. So she went behind our back, go to a naturopathic doctor, get all these different supplements and stuff. And she basically refused most of the medication. Like, I just want to put a disclaimer out there. Even though my blog And everything talks about alternative ADHD treatment. I'm not against medication. I work in a regular hospital that throw out drugs all the time, but my position is that medication is always an option after you try everything. So this patient's parents just so adamant about wanting everything natural, doesn't want any medication, and blah 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 blah. And then my intern was like, she's like, not everything natural is good. She's like, cyanide is natural. Are you going to take it? I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, so true. Just like any other, there's a lot of natural substances that are actually poisonous and they're still natural, right? The venom from the snake, poison ivy, that's natural. No one touches it, right? So, so just remember that natural doesn't mean that it is safer. So that means that when it comes to trying to find a supplement for ADHD to replace or as an alternative to ADHD medication, you need to treat this supplement with as much caution as you're getting a medication. So again, I'm a registered dietitian. One of the things that we're taught in school, even nowadays in a hospital, like I know most of the medication that most people take. And the reason why is because a lot of medication interfere with food and a lot of the supplements. So knowing that, we know that supplements and food can be just as dangerous as a medication that needs a prescription that's made in a pharmacy. Because if you eat the wrong kind of food, people often think like most people, I'm talking about the general population, right? Thinks that, oh yeah, I can just eat anything, there's no problem. But if you go back to a couple of videos or some of my blogs, is that I advocate about against and avoid certain food because some food have chemical signals and it triggers different reaction in our body, and that reaction might be different for everyone, so you just have to use the elimination diet to determine that because again, food allergy tests are not accurate and cannot detect most of the food intolerance in people with ADHD or in other situations. But let me get back to what I was talking about, supplements. So food can be just as dangerous. Like some of my patients have very, very rare genetic disorders that they cannot eat animal protein at all because the body cannot process certain type of amino acid. These people, animal protein could be dangerous for them. Um, and then I also have patients who cannot eat any carbohydrate at all, like actually one of my patients can only have per diet includes only 4 grams of carbs and protein combined in a day. So there are situations where food can be dangerous for some people, but I'm talking very, very rare situation. But just an example that everyone's situation is different. So I know some people don't believe that, oh yeah, you can eat any kind of food, why we can't eat gluten or why we can't eat milk. So, but again, it's an individual basis. And that's kind of the approach that I see my patients versus most other dietitians that you see. They're like, oh yeah, you have this, follow this, that. I do a more individual approach. I ask you about everything, what you feel, how you feel, and figure out what's wrong, what food is good for you, and whatnot. But that's not the point. Let's go back to the supplements. So basically, supplements can be as dangerous as medication. But if you understand the purpose of the supplements, then you'll be in a better place. So people often think that okay, there must be a one pill, a vitamin or supplements or something that you can take to replace the ADHD medication. That's not how it works. So in my Eat to Focus protocol, the supplement recommendation that I use is all based on correcting nutrient deficiency because in people and in kids with ADHD, they do have a higher incidence of some very common nutrient deficiency, and those are proven with studies and research. So the first usually with my patient, the first supplements that I have them started on is always the fish oil. Um, So let me list them out for now. So omega-3 fatty acid, fish oil. The number 2 is magnesium. Number 3 is zinc. Then iron and vitamin D. Iron and vitamin D, I only start them on those after I check the levels. I only start it if the level is low. Um, and then all the other vitamin B supplements. So let me go over each one of them briefly. So the omega-3 fatty acid, that's always the first one that I start, is because that is the one that is the safest and the most studied in the group of ADHD. So um, also, omega-3 fatty acid, the reason why we use fish oil is because the omega-3 fatty acid in the fish oil is actually the active form. So that means that the body can use it right away. Versus if you get omega-3 fatty acid from flaxseed or any other plant-based source, there's still one more biochemical step that your body needs to convert. And in certain people, especially boys with ADHD, that steps tend to be very limited. So it doesn't mean that it doesn't work. It just means that you might need to have a bigger volume of that oil to get the same amount of omega-3 fatty acid. So omega-3 fatty acid is important in the ADHD brain, or not just the ADHD brain, but human brain in general, is that omega-3 fatty acid actually takes up about 8 to 10% of the brain tissue. So that's a pretty big deal, right? So that's one reason. So basically, omega-3 fatty acid is there to help push that catch-up growth. Because in the book, I did mention that the ADHD brain tends to be a bit smaller, about 10% smaller. And then the other reason why the omega-3 fatty acid is also good for the ADHD brain is that omega-3 fatty acid actually reduces inflammation. So one of the causes of potential influence on the brain function is inflammation. So eating food that has a lot of processed additives added to it, um, environmental um, toxins, all and a diet high in sugar, processed that all increases inflammation. So that's another benefit of having omega-3 fatty acid in your diet. And then the next one is the zinc. Zinc is another one that, oh no, actually the magnesium is the second one. So magnesium is another really good supplement to use is because, and it's actually very safe. People often is worried that they can overdose the kids or themselves on magnesium. But the truth is, majority of the population, like even general population, not just people in ADHD, have a low magnesium intake. So I like using magnesium because it's first of all it's a very natural supplement that no, not a natural supplement, a natural electrolytes that the body needs naturally. Because without magnesium, a lot of our biochemical reaction is not going to happen. Magnesium is involved in 300 biochemical reaction in the body. So it's super, super important to the human being. So, and the job of magnesium is actually to relax your muscle and relax, relax, yeah, relieve tension and relaxes you. So a lot of times, again, people with ADHD tend to have anxiety, and also um, it helps with the electrolyte balance in the body. Like the body is really complicated stuff. Like we often think that we eat food. It's kind of like I think most people think that our body's kind of like an empty bucket. You just put stuff in there, and then at the end of the day, the food just comes out the other way. But what really happens is the nutrients, the minerals, and all the things that we have in our that we eat in our food. Actually, when the body pulls out the vitamins and minerals, all those vitamins, minerals, and macronutrients and, and micronutrients, they're all interacting among each other and also interacting with our body. That's what the body is going on when you eat food. It doesn't just go in and come back out. It's a very complicated system. So basically, when something is missing, it's going to affect many other biochemical system along the way. So like these supplements that I'm talking about here that focus on ADHD is really not something just to help with the brain, but to it helps with overall the all of the body function. So magnesium is involved in like 300 different chemicals or biochemical reaction, and it's also involved in a lot of the brain chemical synthesis. Also headaches, like it's interesting. Like me as a dietitian, I didn't learn a lot of this from going to like dietitian conference or things like that. A lot of this I actually learned from other doctors. Um, which is kind of interesting. So I start seeing a lot of pregnant women at work because I was helping out on the adult side, and they're like, since you're a pediatric dietitian, might as well see the pregnant woman and start taking care of the babies before they're born, right? So all these pregnant women, they have cramps, they have headaches. Instead of giving them a regular painkiller like Tylenol, Advil, and stuff, the OBGYN was actually prescribing magnesium oxide to all these pregnant women. Like magnesium oxide is not the choice of magnesium that I will recommend, but I work in a military hospital. We get the cheapest of the cheapest thing on the bottom that we can get. So but it works. So most of the pregnant women are given magnesium oxide for the headaches instead of a painkiller, and it works. So of course, like me curious, I always do my research and look it up and see what all those things are, and then for sure it's something that is to help release or relax the muscle, because when you have headache it's usually tension. And the thing is, um, let me go back a little bit how magnesium interacts with all these other stuff. So our body, the human body, to make a movement is all based on muscle, right? Muscle creates all these things. So magnesium and calcium works kind of opposite. So when the muscle relax, that's the the job of magnesium. When we tighten up muscle, that's the job of the calcium. So sometimes when you don't eat enough magnesium in your diet, that actually makes you more tense. So you know how when you're more tense, you become more anxious. So that's what magnesium does. Magnesium reverses all that, makes you less anxious, makes you more relaxed. Because a lot of people ask about for ADHD, what can you take to relax and sleep at night? Magnesium helps. Magnesium helps you to relax your muscle so you can relax your body and let your brain relax and fall asleep. It's not, magnesium doesn't make you sleepy. That's not how it works to make you fall asleep. It just relaxes your body so then you can relax your brain. Because there's this what you call that, body mind connection, right? So when your body is tense all the time, the feedback to your brain is, oh my god, something's happening, she's so tense. So but the magnesium relax all that muscle, so when your muscle is relaxed, it's sending the feedback to the brain that, oh, everything is okay, she's calm, you can let go and fall asleep. So that's how magnesium works. But during the day, magnesium doesn't make you fall asleep. It just makes your muscle more relaxed. Then your brain becomes more relaxed too. Just knowing that the best decision and the best time of creativity of your brain, the best time your brain works the best when you're relaxed and in a good mood. So um, just think in the past, like how many times you make a bad decision. Your bad decision is always when you're in a panic mode, right? Because when you're in a panic mode, you're in the fight flight response mode. So all the blood in your body basically went all to your muscle because your body's getting ready to run away. So you want to make sure that you're when you're making a very important life decision, you want to be in a relaxed state. Because when you're in a relaxed state, all the resources in your body is available. You have enough brain space to think about it. But when you're trying to to run away from danger, your brain is focusing on how to survive rather than, okay, how am I going to make a good decision now, right? So, so that's that. Um, and then the third supplements is zinc. And I actually like zinc a lot, but it's something that, again, so the zinc and the iron, I'll treat more like more medication. These are things that I don't generally just give out. Oh yeah, you have ADHD, just take off these supplements. So the fish oil and magnesium, I will be pretty confident to say that, oh yeah, you can just take that. Those are pretty safe. But the zinc and iron, like I said, the iron, I always check the lab first before prescribing it. The zinc, I will usually ask some symptoms first. Um, there's no good blood test for zinc because the blood test is not accurate, and there's really no good test for the zinc. So I look for symptoms. So usually in kids and in adult, zinc deficiency have some telltale signs that no people knows about. So a lot of times parents come to me like, "Oh my God, my child is so picky." Like, so I ask them, "How picky are they?" Like, I ask them what kind of food they'll eat, what kind of food they don't eat. But one of the telltale signs that you might have a zinc deficiency is when your child can taste every little thing that you change in the food. Like if you buy chicken nuggets from a different place, or if you overcook something, you change the oil in your food, or they can tell that you bought the wrong brand of chicken nuggets. That kind of pickiness usually is a sign that there's a zinc deficiency. And that happens to my daughter as well. When she was little, this is before I understand all of this thing that I'm talking about here. She loves noodles. So, and she was a super picky eater. I cannot get her to eat anything but noodles. If I make udon noodles, this Japanese noodles, for sure she'll eat it. So then, and because she was super skinny, so I was like putting extra oil, all this high fat stuff in her food. And one of the oil that I use is flaxseed oil because it's a good source of omega-3 fatty acid. I'm not going to put fish oil on her if she's not going to eat it. But I used flaxseed oil because it's a good source of omega-3 fatty acid and it doesn't have a strong flavor. So I use that. So I make the same soup every day. And then one day I actually ran out of the flaxseed oil. So I used olive oil. Still good stuff, right? She took a bite, she pushed it away, like, I don't want this. What did you do to my soup? And I was so upset. Like, I just changed the oil. That's all I did. I make everything the same, the soup and all the noodles and all the other stuff all the same. But but she tasted right away. And like I said, this is before I understand all of this thing. And I get so upset because I spent all this time making the soup and then she just pushed it away like I'm not eating this. You did something to my soup. So um, I don't remember what we did that time. Maybe we changed it. Um, Maybe I cook her another one, or I dump out the soup and make another one. But that's some of the signs that you'll notice when you or your child have a very sensitive taste bud. Usually they'll say, "This tastes funny. That smells funny," or "This is gross. I don't like the smell." Like those kind of comments that usually say that can tell you that they have like a zinc deficiency. So that's usually a telltale signs. And yeah, and then I also look at other things too, right? Like that's the telltale sign. The other thing is looking at the diet. So if the diet is all like with food coming out from a package, like a lot of like chicken nuggets, hot dogs, French fries, fish steaks, those kind of things, I'm pretty sure the diet is actually lacking in zinc. So I just tell them, okay, just start the zinc lozenges. So I don't put them on a long-term zinc regimen. I usually just tell the parents because little kids will usually suck on like a chewable tabs. So the ones that I usually recommend is a zinc lozenges. You know the ones that you get in the store during the flu season that you suck on. So usually I have the kids take one tablet a day for about 2 weeks or to a month. until the appetite improve or the taste bud improve. And this is the funny thing. So that's exactly what I did with my daughter. She take a zinc lozenges every day, and I was actually surprised that she takes it because she was just so picky. So she was taking the zinc lozenges for a while, and she was happy to take it. Then after a while, I think when her taste buds start getting better, like I think after maybe 3 or 4 weeks, she spit it out. She's like, "Oh, I don't like this. It tastes like metal." So I think that's when the taste bud actually normalize. Because the reason why the kids are picky and telling you that your food tastes gross and disgusting, even though you eat it, like there's nothing wrong with my food. It tastes fine, but the taste bud is off because the zinc is actually needed on the taste bud. Because the taste bud is like little sensors, but in order for that taste bud to work properly, it needs to have zinc in it. So when you have a zinc deficiency, the taste bud is actually off. It doesn't mean that the taste bud becomes sharper. We'll often think that because they can taste all the change in the food, it makes them a super taster, but actually it is not. It just makes that taste bud off, so they're tasting, even though your cooking is good. So nothing's wrong with your cooking. It's just the taste bud is off. So that's what zinc is for. Um, oh, the other telltale sign that you or your child might have a zinc deficiency is diarrhea. This is actually a very tricky one because zinc deficiency can cause diarrhea, and diarrhea can cause zinc deficiency. So it's a vicious cycle. And again, there's no test for it because zinc is not something that is easily tested. And then also magnesium. People often ask, can I test what kind of test I can test for nutrient deficiency in ADHD? The only thing you can test for common nutrient deficiency in ADHD is iron, vitamin D, and B12 and folic acid. Um, the other ones you can test for is vitamin A and E only if you have a suspicious, but I never hardly ever test for that. But magnesium you cannot test for because your body, actually your kidneys, do a really good job to make sure that you have enough magnesium and calcium in your blood. So those numbers is always normal. If it's abnormal with those numbers, something's really wrong with you. So, but I'm not going to go into that. Omega-3 fatty acid, there's no test for that either. So yeah, if you're looking to test ADHD and stuff, save that needle poke. And then, okay, for iron and vitamin D, I usually test them together because in my mind, if I'm going to poke you, and have your child go through the trauma of getting needle poke, I might as well get more bugs out of it. So iron, I don't just randomly check for iron. I only check iron if I see the need to it. So iron is needed for a lot of reasons. So one is that iron is needed to carry the oxygen around the blood so you have the energy. So just think about if you're not sleeping enough, you're just super tired. How well can you focus, right? So that's one of the things with iron. Iron is also involved in making some of the brain chemicals that the ADHD brain needs. And the other thing with iron is there's something called RLS or Restless Leg Syndrome. So if you think about one of the symptoms of ADHD is that kids like to move around, right? Like they like to get off the seat and move around. So restless leg syndrome basically is a condition where most people it happens at night, but it's not all the time. Is that you just have that urge to move your legs. You just like suddenly you'll be sitting there and you just need to move your leg. That's restless leg syndrome. So the diagnosis basically is just a history of, oh yeah, like at night when I'm sleeping, I always like wake up because my legs just keep moving. So I wake up to that or something similar to that. But other things that you can do is checking the labs. When when people do labs, this is something that I get a lot in a hospital and drive me nuts. Like the doctor will just do a regular blood count and then hematocrit and hemoglobin is low and then they start iron supplement. And I was like, we need to look at the iron level first. But but in some case it's okay, but in other case, I always like to check the iron level before I start the supplement because knowing the actual iron level gives me a better idea of what supplement to use. So with the iron um, test, so usually if I check for iron, I also check, so I check the whole iron panel. I don't look at just the serum iron one thing. So the iron panel involve you have I think four or five different things on that list. So you have the serum iron that looks at the iron swimming around in the blood, and there's the total iron binding capacity and total iron binding something. Those are not important. I don't care for those. As long as they are normal, then I know that you have enough protein in your body to have functioning iron level. Then the one that I also look at is called ferritin. So ferritin is the storage iron that shows you how much iron is stored in your body. Because and this is the reason why I don't just randomly tell people to take iron supplement because your body can store iron. Anything, any supplement, any minerals that your body can store needs to be checked first. So that's the reason why I check iron. Because iron, when you have too much iron in your body, actually it can damage your tissue because iron is actually a very oxidizing metal or minerals. So you want to have just enough of it to function. You don't want to have too much. You don't want to have too little. So with the so numbers I so besides the um, iron profile, I also do a CBC or complete blood count just to look at the blood cells count so I know if it's affecting the blood count as well. So with that, so I look at in the CBC, basic thing that I look at is the hemoglobin and hematocrit level, the the serum iron or the swimming iron, and then the storage iron, which is the ferritin. So in regards to the restless leg syndrome, that oh, so so both adults and kids who have restless leg syndrome tends to have low ferritin level. So so low, we're talking about under 50. In most lab reference, like I haven't figured this out, but it's a question that I have all the time. Normal ferritin in the lab range, when the lab report a ferritin level of 10, it is actually reported as normal. So whenever your doctor check your iron level, you actually want to get the actual number because what I realize is when the doctor call you for your results, they'll just say, "Oh yeah, everything is normal," or they'll say, "Oh yeah, your bad cholesterol is low or high," but they don't tell you a number. And then when patient hear high, my labs is high, that's not normal. So they freaked out when it was just like 1 point higher. But anyway, always ask for the numbers. And with ferritin, this is the kind of like the funny thing with it. So ferritin, a normal ferritin level according to the lab results is between 4 to 204. That's the lab in the hospital that I work at. But your risk of having restless leg syndrome starts at under 50. So if you have a ferritin of less than 50, which is still normal according to a lab reference, right? You have a higher risk of restless leg syndrome. So if your ferritin is low, serum level is kind of on the low normal side, I usually start an iron supplement. And you don't need it forever. You just need it for maybe 2, 3 months to bring the level up. But if your serum iron level is normal, but your ferritin is kind of like hanging around under 50, then I'll just tell you just take a multivitamin that has iron in it. So for older kids or teenagers, I'll just put them on a prenatal vitamin. I know we're not trying to get them pregnant, don't worry. It's just that prenatal vitamin has a little bit extra of other things like the minerals and folic acid. So that's the reason why I recommend prenatal vitamins. And then, so that's iron. And then the next thing is vitamin D. So vitamin D, again, vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin. So that means that they store in the body in the fat tissue. So anytime there's a minerals or vitamins that can be stored in the body, there is a risk of having too much. So again, vitamin D needs to be checked before supplementing. So there are two forms of vitamin D that you can check. People often think to check for the active form of the vitamin D, which is the 125 hydroxyl um, something something. I forgot the name. But we don't want the active form. We want to check the vitamin D of the other form. The reason why is because the active form is actually have a very short half-life, so it's not accurate. So, but anyway, so check the inactive form of the vitamin D. And again, vitamin D is kind of similar to the iron as well. The lab reference, the normal reference from the lab is not our preference. Our preference, we want it to be higher. Some place will say, depending on the organization, because each different medical organization or institute have their own definition of deficiency or at risk. But so 20, 30 is okay. But I aim for number 50. Then 50 is my preference for vitamin D. So again, I'll check the vitamin D if I'm checking the iron level, because if I'm getting one poke in your kid, I must well get more numbers out of it, because if they're gonna cry, make the cry worth it, right? So vitamin D is important because it's needed in some of the brain chemical production, and it helps with a lot of other stuff as well. So that's what the vitamin D does. Oh, and the bone. So the bone is it's not so much for the bone structure or anything, but more so the calcium absorption. So again, the anytime you talk about calcium is similar, it kind of links to the magnesium because the two things are interacts together. So that's vitamin D. And then the other thing that is more that I like to use is maybe vitamin B12 or B6. Those two are important for the ADHD brain, but I don't usually just supplement them individually. I usually use a B complex. Is the one that I use specifically is the Pure Encapsulations B complex Pure Genomics. That's the one that I use specifically because the B vitamins in that supplements is super high dose and they're all in the correct form, not the cheap store bought stuff. Um, and if you need a list of the supplements that I recommend, if you're on Instagram, if you go to my link in my bio, there's a link actually to all the supplements that I recommend in my books and for my patients. And if you're on Facebook, I'll put a link after this talk. But yeah, so basically that's it. Oh, more things. So the B vitamins is needed to make brain chemicals, but it's also needed to create energy because vitamin B actually helps to push the food or the nutrients into the mitochondria, which is the power station or the power station in our cells. So it powers up the body to make the body function normally. One of the one of the analogy that I use in my book regarding nutrition and ADHD is that okay, we have a person and a kid with these ADHD symptoms, right? But then how do I know that it is really the brain chemical that is missing? So it's kind of like if you just bought a house and you notice that some appliances looking kind of old, you turn on the stove, nothing happens. You open a fridge, it's not cold. But then, but you don't know if it's because the appliance actually is not working or is it because there's no electricity in the house, right? So nutrition to the body is kind of like the electricity or the energy to your house, to your body. So when there's no electricity to the house, of course, all the appliances and lights are not going to work. So that's why the nutrition, that's why I advocate so much about having proper nutrition to feed the person, the child or the adult with ADHDs. you need to make sure that they have the nutrients and the energy to support all the body function first. Then you can finally figure out what is wrong and what's causing the ADHD symptom. Because again, the ADHD symptoms could be just a lack of protein, because all the brain chemicals are made from proteins or amino acid that we eat in our food, right? So if you're not eating the right kind of foods, you're gonna be missing out on the important ingredients to make the correct brain chemicals. Then also eating the right kind of food to feed your body so your body can actually function normally to lay up everything. Then now you can like turn on the stove, open up the refrigerator, then you'll know, oh, it's still not working even though there's electricity. So I know the fridge is not working because the fridge is broken, right? So it's just like the ADHD brain. If you're feeding the child all the right nutrition, correcting all the nutrient deficiency, and you're still seeing the lack of focus, the hyperactivity, the impulsiveness, depression, and all those, then you know, oh yeah, there's still something that needs to be done. Could be like psychotherapy, because it could be like psychological past traumas or experience that causes some of the ADHD symptoms. Could be like really something's missing in their brain chemicals or whatever other reasons that might be, right? So that's kind of like why nutrition, in my opinion, is so important in feeding the ADHD brain. Because the thing is, what's good for your body is also good for your brain, right? Because all your organs works together, even though we have one doctor for each organ, but ultimately the whole human body works all together as a whole. If the heart is broken, it's not pumping blood properly to the rest of the body, it's not pumping blood to the brain either. Or if your lung is not, like if you have like asthma or lung disease that you're not breathing very well, you're not getting in that oxygen properly. Again, like limited oxygenated blood is going to the brain. So if the lack of oxygen is making you weak and tired, it's making your brain weak and tired as well. Or if your digestion is not working properly, you're not able to break down food properly because either you're eating the wrong kind of food for your body or you don't make enough digestive enzymes to break down food properly. Same thing, so you don't get the right food through your system. So you're not able to feed your body properly. That also means that your brain is not being fed properly. So all of those things we need to all look at it together, but not just think, oh yeah, I just need to find that one pill to fix my brain. It's not like that. It's the whole um, it to focus protocol that I talk about or advocate about is a whole person approach. It's not just like, oh yeah, let's just give you this pill and hopefully placebo effects kicks in and you feel that little like burst of energy in your brain and suddenly you start focus. It's the whole it to focus protocol is about taking better care of yourself, of your body or your kid's body. And then when the body works well, mentally, psychologically, and physically, then the whole ADHD and the brain will work better, and a lot of those ADHD symptoms will subside and get better. And that's how I look at each person. So, and yeah, that's about it today. That's all I have today, talking about supplements. Like I said, I'll put the link to the list of supplements that I recommend in the comments below. I'll try to do it on both the Facebook site and the Instagram. But one thing, very exciting thing coming up. So I'm going to be doing a wellness talk next week on February February 2nd. I think Tuesday, depending on where you are in the world, because this is actually a talk with, let's see, what's her name? With Danielle Brophy. She's from Money Wellbeing. She's actually in Australia. So um, February 2nd at 5:30 p.m. is Australian time. So like I'm in Hawaii, so that'll be the first for me. So if you're on the mainland, it'll be probably February 1st for you as well. But I'll post that link and I'll share that information in the Facebook group and the page and then Instagram later. So For those of you who are interested in learning about money and wellness, come and hang out with us, and then we'll talk more about like wellness and money in that section. Okay? All right. Thank you very much for all of you listening. Okay, bye.